Perfect. Hi, everybody. My name is Ramesh Mahalingam, and I work with Charlie. And fun fact, I'm Sundar Pichai's brother. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. I moved to India after 30 years with the family. So just wanted the kids to have a little bit of immersive experience in another culture. So they're loving it. So hence I'm loving it. So perfect. So should we start? All right, perfect. So um, I kind of started with a different pitch. To be honest, I wanted to talk more about the pricing component, where AI plays a role, and so on. And I promise I still have that, a small component of it. However, um, I wanted to actually talk about something that's I can't get to take this one. So I wanted to talk about something that's very, I would say, very consequential to us as humans. And a quick introduction: I'm a CEO of a company called Vizru. Vizru is a Bay Area-based company, and we enable enterprises to have AI as an AI co-pilot for all their operations in the future. And the reason that's very important for us is naturally, I would say, in a year and a half, or a couple of years, when we have the same summit, there is going to be a lot more conversation that we all will be immersed in talking about how does AI help us in this pricing? How is it going to predict? How is it going to actually simulate it? How is this? So every aspect of every corporate journey will have an AI component right within. And we will have to embrace it, whether we like it or not. That's just part of us. But in order for us to embrace this, I want to make sure that we kind of understand, where we come from. I want us to take a little bit of journey within as to who we are. I think more we take this journey, better we understand. I think we will actually start to use AI as a better tool, better co-pilot in the future. So fair warning, this is there'll be a harsher criticism of us as human beings. And I don't know if you guys have seen, yes. Oh, thank you. And I don't know if you guys have listened to Joe Rogan. So it's going to be kind of like an honest, brutal honesty. So, but it is important. I think we are way too much into a corporate speak where, we don't get an opportunity to kind of ask certain questions about ourselves. And I'm not on anyone's payroll, so I can do it. So first question, is AI an asset or a threat to humans? And if I can indulge, how many of you, before you answer, just think about your children first, and then answer, how many of you think AI is a threat? With a show of hands, if you don't mind. How many of you think AI is a threat? Plus, yeah. Distraction? Very good. Okay. How many of you think it's an asset? Fantastic. Actually, interestingly enough, the answer that I was hoping is what I'm getting. Because about 50 to 60% audience, everywhere I pitch, whenever I talk about this, 50 to 60% of people are actually conflicted. We are trying to figure out still whether it's a threat or an asset or a distraction. And I'll give you a um, quick social experiment. I wouldn't say experiment. This is what we did to explain the asset value of it. We worked with a company called Twaster GenCalp, where they were already indulging in epigenetic screening. So it's one of the high-tech companies that does next generation sequencing and for liver cancer. When we added AI component to it, we were able to identify with 95% specificity on what's called the tumorogenesis to actually identify where the tumor actually began, which is 60% or 70% of the battle. By doing so, we can reduce the cost of that test from $8,000 to just under $100. So now a lot of hospitals in India, as well as now we are opening in Africa and other regions as well, where it's become much more affordable. So this is naturally a huge asset to us, to humanity. That's the good news. Now let's get to the other angle. What are the different challenges that we are actually facing? And I'm also hoping towards the end, there will be three fundamental things that we will be taking away, I'm hoping, from this session. One, I'm hoping there will be a wake-up call. We need to understand what's happening so that we start to adapt to the newer conditions. And I'm hoping there will be a method that we will take away from us. And naturally, as humans, we all need tools. So I'm hoping there will be, we will provide certain tool sets that will allow us to adapt. So there are two fundamental principles that defined us, distinguished us from animals. One, the superior mental development and the power of articulate speech. These two are fundamental principles that defined us as humans, that built character, that defined who we are. And with these two fundamental principles, our ancestors were immense inventors. And we were thinkers. We created civilizations. We were philosophers. We were not afraid to go deep into our own mind. And naturally, we discovered with vigor from planets to subatomic particles to DNA. Our ancestors were discoverers. We were vigorous at it. And we bonded. We bonded with our planets. The sustainability, ESG, was just part of our, our own conscience, right? We didn't have to create a separate organization for it. It was part of it. I'll give you a simple example. Southern part of India, as well as many parts of Thailand, people used to eat on banana leaf. And we would eat on a banana leaf. Once it's done, we feed the banana leaf to the cattle. Cows give the milk, manure becomes fertilizer, fertilizers become crops become food goes back onto the banana leaf. You cannot think of any more sustainability than this. And this is who we were. And so bonding with our planet, understanding our planet, coexisting and appreciating our planet was just part of who we were. This is who our ancestors were. And we expressed in layers. We had mediums, canvases that we appreciated the world, and we learned how to express in layers. Now, all this until then, I call them creative economics. Our ancestors were phenomenal in doing in part of the creative economics, until an era of what I'd like to call an efficiency economics was born. It was phenomenal. The prosperity was incredible. In the 1901, when the assembly line, the division of labor, all that stuff was phenomenal because we could churn out a car in 14 hours. It doesn't have to take years. It was great. So the efficiency economics, we came up with division of labor, where we said somebody will create screws and somebody will create bolts, and then somebody will assemble them, get the car out. Great. Awesome. It worked beautifully. There was an inadvertent collateral damage to this. Not a single person learned how to make a whole car. We lost one of the most important components of what defined our ancestors, who they are, what defined the creative economy, which is a holistic knowledge of whatever that we were doing. We all did smaller components of it, but we didn't know what they all lead to. So while this fantastic efficiency economics ushered in an era of efficiency, now we started to lose something very important to us. And then the efficiency economics led us to need for speed. Nobody has time. So we McDonaldized the entire society. We had to get things done. So we had menus, 1, 2, 3. You want, combo or, a jumbo meal, whatever we want to call it, and you get it done very quickly. So I was telling this, I think, Prax, sorry, I'm going to say the same joke, man. I'm not Chris Rock. I'm not going to make up new jokes for you. So this is so whenever this was my experiment. When I went to McDonald's, I asked for Egg McMuffin, and I said, hold ham. That's it, right? The kid, a young man behind the counter, and he thought I was trying to solve a differential equation, right? I mean, he was confused. He was like, okay, bread's okay, right? Yes. Cheese? Yeah. Ham? No, no. Okay, okay, got it. Ham? No, no, no. Okay, okay. So he couldn't compute. It's hard. It's not his fault. It's not his fault because we have a French fries right on the keyboard. Because efficiency. We wanted to get things done. If you can make a burger in 90 seconds, you need to order and get it through the door in 45 to 50 seconds. Efficiency economics. But we lost the next important thing for us as human beings, critical reasoning. We lost it. And then that led us to time pressure. Right? It's an orifice. Eventually, there is bottlenecks that gets created. So the assembly line, the need for speed, now leading us to no time. You ask anybody, even at work, oh, I got no time. No, you have plenty of time. We just don't know how to plan it. So the time pressure, this artificial fabricated time pressure in us, actually at the last, because we would just procrastinate all the way until the last moment when the time comes to decide, we would outsource the decision to somebody else. Another thought experiment. Go out with 4 ladies, guys, for lunch, right? Go out and just say, where do you want to eat? I guarantee not a single person would say where they want to eat. One guy's going to, I don't know, where do you want to eat? The other guy is going to, well, I'll eat anything. Well, that's not a decision, right? So this is what's happening. Nobody wants to decide. And there's one guy, even if he says, let's go pizza, another guy would say, well, I just had pizza Tuesday. Anything but pizza. It's frustrating. This is who we have become. We have lost the ability to decide. Why? Time pressure, a fabricated time pressure. So we as human beings started losing one important trait after another that defined our mental capability. Holistic knowledge is gone, critical reasoning is gone, decisioning capacity is gone. Not the power, but the capacity is gone in us. Now, the last fundamental component of who we are, the power of articulate speech. We just turn, how are you, into may I take your order. That's who we've become. I don't really care. I just want to get this day through by just simply saying, may I take your order. So now we lost the last remaining battle for us as human beings, that is power of articulate speech. Now, finally, we were human beings. If you notice, we started as human beings. In 1893, we coined the term human resources. The dictionary actually defines it as a stock or a supply of money or materials or a staff or other asset that can be drawn on by an organization in order to function. We are okay with it. We have an HR department, don't we? When did human beings become human resources? And when did we actually stop asking that question? Why did and how did we become a resource? We have. That's because of efficiency economics. It just works out so conveniently for us. That's great. It worked out great until then. So finally, fundamentally, what is the fundamental outcome for us? We have all become a cog in the machine. Doesn't matter, I'm a CEO cog. There's a CFO. Everybody's become a cog in the machine. And so the wake up call, like I said, everybody's now worried. Hey, is AI imitating humans? Is it taking over? Is this what? If you really see, yeah, I can type. Hey, can I get it done? Oh, Google's filling it out in 2 weeks. Yeah. We were not great writers in the first place. For the last 35 times, you've been saying I can get it done in 2 weeks. AI just figured out that's what you're going to say. It predicted the slack that we put within ourselves. So, is AI imitating human beings? Is a fundamental question. We keep asking, oh my God, AI is becoming humans. Not true at all. It's us who have been behaving like machines for the past 100, 120 years. And AI has just gotten better at it. And it is going to keep getting better by the day because we are that predictable. Now, why did we become predictable? Because we planned it to be predictable. We wanted the efficiency economics to become so easily manageable that we made the processes, everything predictable, as well as our own functions predictable. So if you really see the rise of machine correlating itself with the decline of the human creativity, we lost the holistic knowledge, the creativity, the problem solving, the decision making. You see the rise of assembly lines and the robots and automation, digitization, and finally the communication. The last stand that we as human beings had, AI took over. And if you think I'm wrong, the generative AI is called large language model. The next version that every AI expert is afraid is that AIs will start communicating without human language because human language is not efficient. When efficiency economics folks actually created a machine, they are building a machine that's even more efficient where there is going to be Meta, there is going to be Google and Microsoft systems. They're going to talk to each other. They're going to kind of realize, man, this human language is pointless. There is no sim. Why do you need grammar? Why do you need semantics? Why do you need Shakespeare? And for them, no, it's a Shakespearean thing. It's useless. So the next stand is how machines will communicate with each other. But we can't stop this. This is where technology goes. We don't, not a single person can really end up stopping arbitrarily something. It's impossible. The question is, how am I going to embrace it? That's important. We have to figure out how to intelligently adapt ourselves going forward. To my next component, the method. So while the wake-up call was that AI is not replacing humans, AI is simply replacing machines that we think were humans. Now, how do we change in the workplace? Let's not ask, what do you want me to do? AI will do that better again and again, rinse and repeat. You cannot beat AI in this. You have to ask why. When was the last time we went to work and we actually said, why should this work? Why am I stuck with this dumbass system? Honestly, it doesn't work. I click on it, it takes me 3 minutes. Why am I wasting 3 minutes to get it? Why can't I reuse the same thing? Why am I reinventing the wheel? Why can't I do it this way? Why can't I create a new system myself? Why? This is what our ancestors did. And we leave the AI to ask, what? What do you want me to do? But now start focusing back on the why. When we elevate ourselves in that intellectual quotient, asking why, we start to use AI back as our tool. Just like everybody has a laptop. People worried about laptops before, not anymore. Just look at it as AI as a co-pilot that will be part of us where that's going to do the what component and we focus on the why component. So let's get back to the resource, to a being back again. And it is absolutely important. This is consequential, not for us. This is consequential for our future generation. Let us become human being 2.0. But the best part is most of it has already been seeded by our ancestors. We don't have to reinvent anything. We don't have to create anything. We don't have to learn anything. Start with why, acquire knowledge, apply critical reasoning, be decisive, retake the communication, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff is great. But one fundamental difference in this branching point of evolution is please become accustomed. Use AI as your co-pilot. That's your best tool today for the human beings to thrive in the future. If we start taking action right now, next year, I guarantee this summit will be all about AI. Whether we like it or not, we will actually have more philosophical, informative decisions, but we are at a branching point in the human evolution. And that's the toughest part. It's hard to understand that whenever we are at the branching point, it's impossible to realize that we are at the branching point, but we absolutely are. So sooner we actually start embracing this artificial intelligence as our co-pilot, sooner we will turn into human beings 2.0 at workplace. It's super important. This is all about workplace. There we go. All right. So, okay. So that's my quick, I would say, however we want to call it. I hope it was reasonably informative. But now I want to talk about the practical component of it. Let's talk AI in pricing, but this is in general. So it's one of the big things where people say, okay, this is great, theory is fine, but how do I really make sense of AI? This is not for today. This is for from now to the next year summit. How do we really make sense of AI? Where is it going to play a role in AI, in corporate world? How do you really understand this? And to me, I learned quite a bit from not just about AI, even to start a company, run a company, everything. All my lessons I learned is from, believe it or not, by flying kites in the streets of India as a kid. And we call it a backbencher because that's who all the parents thought. Flying a kite, it's nothing academic, you shouldn't be doing it. You will be up to nothing in your life. Turned out to be wrong. Kite flying is extremely, extremely relevant in the entrepreneurial journey, the corporate journey, in AI, in everything else. And I'm gonna try to explain why. And to be honest, there are backbenchers. More power to you. Your generation is coming up now, because there's all the practical aspects of it that you want to learn. Comes from the backbenching group of students, I would say. So there are three fundamental aspects to kite dynamics. And this is super important for us to remember and keep it in our mind, because this is what is going to define the AI in the next year we are going to learn. Number one, the climate, which is, windy, all that stuff, the kite, these are conditions that a kite flyer cannot control, but they need to understand. They need to know how to navigate through all these things. So there are conditions that you can't control, but you need to analyze and understand. And that's very, very important. That's where things really start. And based on this, we design and modify the kite. We add more tails to it, lighter kite, whatever that we need to do, depending on the conditions, we need to design, redesign, predict the conditions, and figure out how to redesign the apparatus. The last one, string. To be honest, even in businesses, CEO just has one string. Everybody thinks they have control over the climate. They don't. We just have a handle on the string. We can lift or drag. That's all we can do. But the third thing is, how do you navigate through this? These three fundamental principles, and that makes it super easy, because we think AI is super complicated. Actually, it's not. if you really break it down into three fundamental aspects: one, the conditions that you really cannot control, but you need to analyze, and then design your product or whatever you have according to those conditions, and then have a way to navigate and try it different scenarios. And these are the three fundamental things of Kite Dynamics. Now let's take any AI, but in this case, I'm taking the adaptive pricing. There are three aspects that the future of pricing or future of AI that you need to understand. The market condition or the market dynamics, the inflation, the unemployment, the migration, the, how many people are leaving in a city, the homelessness, every aspect of it, the market dynamics that we cannot control, we need to analyze. But the best part here is generative AI has incredible capability right now to make sense out of this world and gives that insight to us within 30 seconds or 40 seconds within in like a Twitter 140 characters. That is already there. So from now to the next year's summit, the first thing that you're going to be focusing on that typically I would recommend to focus on is how do we utilize these next gen AI capabilities such as the generative AI to understand the global dynamics. The dynamics are changing, the war, the oil volatility, every little thing that we had absolutely no control over before. Now everything is in our fingertips. Now think about the pricing strategies. Every one of you, the paralysis that we've had so far has been because we could not gain that insight that existed. Now we can. AI is supremely powerful for us. That's why I said the first one is let's start using that as a co-pilot to understand how do we understand the global dynamics. Then the second component of AI that we will be building is how those parameters applies itself to your local information. Home Depot selling. I saw some data set, one city in Tracy to one city in Stockton, just hour away. Tracy is the largest, Tracy Home Depot sold the largest of the kitchen and bath, but Stockton didn't. Just 1 hour away. Why? There is a global market dynamics that change that we need to understand. So when you take that parameter and apply your local parameters to it, you start to predict. That's where your designing your product comes in. You start to design your products much, much better. Now here's the third part, very important. This is what is going to actually change and significantly improve the value for your organization, which is no matter what you did, you would have to take the product to the real world in the traditional model. You have to take it, and it fails, it fails. You got to rinse and repeat after the failure happened, but not anymore. Now AI has the ability to simulate a twin. It can synthesize demographics instantly. We can create millions of, let's say a Tracy, you want to simulate another Tracy, and you redesign your product, simulated in this simulated Tracy world, run through it, you will know exactly how much churn, which consumer bought it, which consumer did not, all that information without spending $1 by sending the product to the real world. That's going to redefine how you launch products going forward. You first have to launch it in the imaginary world or the simulated world. You will get everything behaving. There are 16 variables. We do this all the time. There are 16 to 18 variables that define it. Based on the 16 variables, you synthesize demographics, millions of people. You run through it. You run this. There's 90 to 92% accuracy. You know why? Which sucks. Back to my earlier point, because we have become part of the efficiency economy. We are very predictable. So the demographics also is very predictable. So these three things, at the end of the day, this chaos that we see, this massive chaos of AI, what's going to happen? Is it going to take over? No, bring it all down from a corporate perspective. There's only three things that's going to happen. One, AI is going to help you understand the market dynamics. Number two, based on the market dynamics and your data, it's going to start predicting. And number three, it's going to start simulating. And you can rinse and repeat this for every process, your sales, code to cash, your financial outcomes, every aspect of it's a cookie cutter to boiling down to these three. And if we nail this, we nail using AI as a co-pilot in the future. So I think I did it much faster, I think, Brooks. That's basically my, my quick rundown, but I'm happy to take any questions or anything that you may have and share your thought. I would love to hear your feedback, though. Application of which one? Yeah, application of this. I'll share. So there is a really good example of Tetra Pak, one of the largest packaging material companies, and they created a massive, all over the world. They have these campaigns that they run against what's called magic box. They run through this scanning, and one of the big problems they had is they have no idea why the scanning, the discounts and all that stuff, it didn't work. They had a 0.4% or 0.3% of click ratio, and they had no idea, because every time they would actually take it to the real world. So what we did through the AI system is we took, as I mentioned, there are 16 variables: the gender, the day of the week, the events and what happened, the climate conditions, and so on. There are 16 fundamental, we call it influencing variables. And against the influencing variables, we give them the opportunity to apply what's called a coefficient. In other words, if you said 0.2% or 0.2 times the variable, or 0.3 times the climate, 0.4 times the day of the week, when you apply and give a weightage of coefficiency to each of the variables, you actually start to simulate the churn ratio. So why that matters is, let's say your Tuesday females and month of the week, when you put these coefficients, that's the one that gets you 80% of click ratio. That's when they actually send this campaign in real life. Until then, they keep tweaking until they get the 80%. So by doing so, from 0.3% they could increase it to 3% just in about 6 weeks. That's a significant bump in the scan ratio. They keep running this for a few months, they'll get to 90, 95%. So it's almost getting to a perfection on everything that we do is all through this. You got to keep iterating through the process. Yes.
Sure. As adaptive pricing becomes part of organizations' standard operating procedures, does that, once everybody's doing it, does that take away the competitive advantage of it? Does it impact the way it simulates the different scenarios that you put in?
It's an excellent question, actually. This comes back to the creative economics back again. What this means is, going forward, the management, the executive team, the thought leadership want employees to actually start creating a model. So creating a model is not a big deal. Now identifying the parameters that defines it. For instance, if you say kitchen sink, if it is sent to Nevada, Nevada has tremendous water scarcity, add along with it, IoT and smart meter to it, build your own packaging, pricing strategy for the cohort. They call it the cohort analysis, cohort products. You build your own formula. So that brings us to a point. What gives you the competitive advantage going forward? It's your formula that's going to make the difference. In Coca-Cola, it's just 3 ingredients. That formula that has made them so powerful. So going forward, every organization, the future of enterprises is not going to be the things that we do. It's the formula that we hold. That's going to make a difference. That means every one of us will transform ourselves into an entrepreneur and innovator within the organization. All right, any other questions? Thank you.
I'll ask one
Yes.
question. This is a conversation Charlie and I had last night, just with regards to AI. How do you when the data that's feeding the AI is a historical data set, let's just say it's our historical pricing information as an example, and our historical pricing is based on, let's just say, bad practices, and we use AI to just replicate the same bad practices over and over again, and using that, is there a way to extrapolate beyond the data set that you have to begin with?
Very, very good question. So the way we answer that is in two. One, data set and understanding before AI, there's a traditional model that's already been perfected already. It's nothing but a statistical analysis. For instance, I'll give an example. If you ask are you a Republican or a Democrat, they're not going to say it. The statistical analysts actually have a way of asking a whole lot of questions to actually identify the data sets that they want to pick. And the AI data scientists are exactly the same. They're all statistical analysis experts, to be honest. So there is a set of data set, knowing fully well it's garbage. People know. And then there are certain things that we think they're garbage, but in reality, it speaks volumes. And that's the interesting thing, that we think it's garbage in, garbage out, but in reality, a pattern emerges from all that information to identify the diamond in the rough. And that's one powerful component. The other thing is it takes a small set. So it won't take, a statistical analyst won't take 10 years worth of data right away. They're going to actually say, I'm going to take 20 to 22 data, and I'm going to set aside 15% of that as a test data set, and then run through it, see if I'm able to replicate it. And then 22 hits, everything will be wrong because COVID hit. So from 21 to 23, they're going to take another data set and say, okay, this is an anomaly. They will strike it out. So bottom line, data is never bad. Data has been bad when humans are running through it. But to your point, there a lot of times, there is 90% likelihood data, the historical data that you have, AI will be able to identify some use for it in finding prediction patterns. On the other hand, to important question to, let's say it is bad, which has happened, which happens more often than we think. When that happens, this is where the simulation mode comes in. The synthetic data automatically gets created. It's kind of dangerous for another day. It's a philosophical question of, is it the right thing to do? However, for a lot of times, actually AI actually fills the gap on certain gaps that it finds when it is actually synthesizing the data set itself. So, I don't know. Did I answer the question?
No, actually. So I think I probably misspoke. When I say the data is bad, it's not the data it's bad. Our practices that generated the data is perfect. Let's just assume the data is perfect and perfectly reflective of what we actually did. But we have bad practices, right? Yeah. So we had a bad pricing model that we built, and we were been using this bad pricing model. And so the market response is, if our historical data is only based on doing bad behavior, our bad behavior, not the data isn't bad, just will we just replicate bad behavior going forward in the future? That's my concern.
Yes, I think the behavior, that's where the co-pilot component is going to start coming in. The behavior also will start getting nudged. There is another longer explanation to it. The systems and the practices that we have been using, it's like it is also getting transformed very quickly. So we have this Russian doll challenge where the technology inside is changing. Technology that's being applied within the businesses is also changing. The practices and the processes that we've been following, that's also changing. So it's kind of like we have three variables in the equation, and that's what's happening. But the AI co-pilot component, as we are, this is just going to become part of our work experience, where whatever that we did, that we would modify something in an Excel and then upload it, and then somebody modified it wrong, and they shouldn't be using Excel, they should be using this system. It takes 15 minutes to open the damn system. All those practices it should go away, but AI will start nudging folks in the right direction to say, okay, we're gonna do it. 3 to 5 years, I think it will do it on its own, which sucks. It's gonna start saying, you know what? you're making way too many mistakes. Just go and have coffee. Let me go fix it for you. Which is hope. We hope we don't want to get to that part. But yeah, it's a long. I know it's not exactly the right answer, but it's a long explanation to go through it. But it's an important question. Does it become a self-fulfilling prophecy of using data that's coming out of wrong practices? If we feed that back, would it create the wrong practice? I think right now the systems that we are in, that vicious cycle is being broken by the AI system to nudge us in the right direction already.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Ramesh.
All right.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.